Hello and welcome to another edition of What's This Wednesday here on the channel, and this Wednesday we have for you all Strange Brigade. And this game definitely is indeed strange. We have a game based around old, like 1930s-esque pulp kind of action comics slash stories. And in this story, we have a team of potentially 5 adventurers. Now, I say potentially 5 because if you adopt this game early enough, within the first 30 days of its launch, you can actually get the free DLC character Winston Bay for free. After that, I believe it becomes a paid-for DLC, so if you want to pick this game up within the first 30 days, I suggest you go ahead and do that if you're interested in the free character. But there are the 4 main characters that we have here in the that make up the Strange Brigade, which are Malangu Rashida. She is definitely the Strange Brigade's kind of tribalistic, shaman-esque character trope that you'd often see back in these old-timey stories. They would definitely have one person of a different ethnicity or nativity to a country where they would normally frequent in order to give them a bit of diversity and also maybe additional powers or even additional contacts in certain areas. So having the, I don't want to say like native or anything like that, but having that sort of contact in other like tribalistic areas of the world definitely helps out teams like the Strange Brigade on certain missions. And then we have Gracie Braithwaite, who definitely looks like Brigitte from Overwatch, except maybe not as advanced in technology, but she is definitely your engineer, who is very good at explosives and very good at punching people. She's got a savage uppercut and is probably my favorite character I've played so far, just because I like her attitude. I like the fact that she's got that, just that nice personality of, she knows her way around things, right? She does what she does, and she's a little bit brazen. She's definitely my favorite character to play so far. We also have Professor Archimedes de Quincy, who is your scholar of the team, because you always need a scholar. You always have to have the, I'm going to call the outlier or the outsider character, which is Mulanga Rushida. And then you also have to have your engineer slash your weapons expert, which is Gracie. And then you also need your scholar, which is Professor Archimedes de Quincy. He's definitely probably the one who's going to be most knowledgeable about the areas you're going to, about the paranormal activity that's happening, even finding secrets. One of his powers is, I think, that he's able to spot secrets at a farther distance than any other character. So if you're looking for those sweet, sweet treasures in this game, you're going to want to go with Archimedes de Quincy. You also have Frank Fairburn, who's essentially like your captain, your leader. I believe he might even be like a military-esque. He looks kind of military-esque. I haven't really played with him enough to get a feel of his character, but he definitely has the super headshot perk. So if you're looking for somebody who's good at picking people off with like a bolt-action rifle for the one-shot kills, you're going to want to pick Frank Fairburn. He's definitely your soldier-type character, the guy who gets stuff done. You know, he's probably the guy who kicks open doors, shoots first, asks questions later, especially when they're dealing with the damned. And then I'll just touch on the final character there, Winston Bay, who is a gentleman, definitely. He's dressed like a gentleman, and that's even what the DLC is called, I believe, the Gentleman DLC. And so he's got a larger soul area. He can gather up the souls of the fallen enemies in a wider area. And, oh yes, he also starts with more health. So he's definitely a more spiritual person. He's a gentleman of adventure, and so that's why he's coming along. He's kind of like that rich friend. I assume he's kind of like the rich friend. He's like the one who's got the money, or maybe a bit more class to him. So he's definitely the gentleman archetype of this group. And with those 5 characters, you are able to create a squad of 4 people, kind of, I don't want to say like Left 4 Dead, but it is a little similar to Left 4 Dead in some regards. With that whole 4-player team versus the undead kind of thing. I think that's where similarities sort of... I mean, I guess there's a little bit more connection to Left 4 Dead, but I want to get into the flavor of this game. Now, the flavor of this game definitely comes from its theming, which is that 1930s-esque pulp idea of adventurers going to strange lands, searching for treasure, and finding supernatural things to combat. Now, since this is What's This Wednesday, I haven't played through the whole game yet. I've actually... spent a lot of time off camera making sure I could complete the first the first level entirely, collecting all the collectibles. Yes, there are collectibles, and some of them are well hidden. So I'm recording this after just because I forgot to mention about the actual collectibles in the levels. So in each level, there are specific cat idols that can pop up. They're kind of like blue, ethereal-looking cats that you'll hear meow, and then they'll jump up to a place that you can usually see after passing through it. If you shoot all of the ones that appear in a level, you'll be able to unlock the specific cat idol doors in the end of the level and collect the golden cat idol statue, and also probably some other treasures that will net you a nice little stipend of gold. There are also canopic jars, which are also blue, so I think most of the collectible, shootable items, like the cats and the canopic jars, are colored blue, so you'll notice them in the environment. But there are those in the levels as well. If you break all these jars in a level, you'll also be rewarded with a little bit of extra stuff at the end of the level. So it's worth your while to actually seek out these collectibles and get them, whether that be collecting them or destroying them. There's also puzzles in this, because it's going to be, the first area you go, I believe, is Ancient Egypt. So you're going to have to go through a bunch of Egyptian tombs, solve Egyptian puzzles. Some of them will require you to spin, you know, the pipe game, the old pipe games where you have to connect the one end of the pipe to the other end? Well, in this, it's snakes. It's like spiritual snakes, and you have to connect the one head of the snake to the other head of the snake in order to complete the link, in order to open the doors. There will also be certain locks that will have 3 symbols on them, and you'll need to shoot those in a specific order that's usually pretty close to where the lock is. They don't, a lot of them are, like, very easy to find, and some of them might be hidden in other secrets. So you have to keep your eyes peeled, because if you fail at a certain puzzle too many times, it will actually lock you out from the treasures inside. So you never want to just try and randomly guess the combinations for anything. You want to make sure that you're paying attention here. After all, it is an adventure, and you don't want to harm yourself or die by maybe failing a puzzle, because there are definitely certain puzzles that show you that there's risk to failing or making a misstep. And so this whole pulp action adventure thing culminates in your characters trying to find one of their colleagues who's gone missing at a dig site in Egypt. And so you start going through this area, and all of a sudden the undead start popping up, and you immediately know that something sinister is going on. So you keep pushing, more undead start coming up. They get resurrected by this ancient power of Egypt. So you're going to have to keep fighting them. And along the way, you're going to find treasure. And that's the best part, is finding treasure is so rewarding, because it will also go into your gold stores, and you can purchase weapons and equipment from the main menu. So you can actually get a bunch of extra stuff. You don't just start out with the first few guns and that's it. Also, each character, I forgot to mention, each character has no set skills or weapons. They do have one set skill, but their weapons are completely not locked to their character. So you can pick a shotgun for Gracie, you could pick a bolt-action rifle for Gracie, you could pick a machine gun for Gracie, you could also pick your whatever sidearm you like. So it doesn't matter what character you are. If you want certain perks that the characters have, then it matters. But if you just worry about your guns, it doesn't matter what character you can be, because you can always pick your favorite weapon no matter which character you are. So far, anyway. I don't know if that's going to change in the future, but as of right now, I can use my shotgun that's super pumped up. You can also upgrade your weapons, but I'll get to that in a second. But I can use my shotgun that's super heavily pumped up on any character I want. I can use my favorite sidearm. I can use the sticky grenades on anybody I want, which is wonderful. The only things that you cannot change on your characters are their amulet powers. Now, you've got a special amulet, and this amulet starts off with 1 power for each character. But as you complete collections from things in the levels, so if you collect all of the treasures in a level, or sometimes I think they're spanned across 2 levels, but if you complete a collection of items, you will actually get a skill point. So collectibles are very helpful in this game for finding upgrades for your characters. So you'll get a skill point, and with that skill point, you can unlock 1 extra amulet power for any character. So when you go into your amulet, when you go into your menu, and you go down to your amulet section, you can actually purchase any of the locked amulet specials, and that will then change your current special to the new one. But you can change back at any time, because once you've unlocked them, you can change with them freely. So let's take Gracie Braithwaite, for example. Gracie Braithwaite's ultimate ability is she'll shoot out like a wrapping, like a mummy wrapping, pull somebody in, and then uppercut them so hard they'll fly back a distance and then explode with energy. That's part of the reason why I love Gracie Braithwaite. She's just a powerful buster. But then I unlocked all of her special abilities, because I got enough skill points by completing 2 levels entirely, that I unlocked all 3 of her other amulet abilities. And one that I really enjoyed, which allows you to summon kind of like this orb in the air that will fire out really powerful bolts and pretty much one-kill any lesser enemy. So there's definitely different specials you can tie to these characters to give them a different flavor. So if you don't like the fact that you have to pull somebody in to uppercut them, to launch them farther away, then maybe you want to switch to the turret, right? Because the turret one is really good. I like it a lot. Then there's also one, Gracie's got one that's like a raging bull, where she kind of goes berserk. She also has one where there's like a whip action. She'll lift people up and slam them into the ground repeatedly, kind of like the Hulk versus Loki. Professor DeQuincy, one of his basic special that you start out with, is he summons a swarm of scarabs that will just bounce around an area and kind of just kill anybody they touch. So the specials are definitely unique and help you with certain aspects, either clearing one powerful enemy or clearing a bunch of lesser enemies quickly. And so that just adds some flavor to each of these characters while you're adventuring, which really helps in multiplayer, because I believe there's no lock on characters in multiplayer. I'll show some multiplayer footage later on in the video near the end here. But when I was playing, I wanted to play Gracie, but I noticed somebody else was Gracie. And so I was thinking, well, it didn't lock me from picking Gracie, so I'll just go and pick Malangu, and I will play her instead, so we kind of have like a full diverse group rather than having two Gracies. So I don't know if you can actually double up on characters just yet. I've only played a few online matches, and I wanted to have a diverse group of people, so that's what I did. But it seems that if it was allowing me to pick that character off the gate, then maybe you can play as doubles. You can always play as your favorite character. I think that would be pretty cool, because their color changed. The other person's color looked different on my screen. So if the colors changed, then I'm thinking perhaps either there's skins in the game that I don't know about yet, or multiplayer allows you to play as the same characters. So back to the kind of the plot of this game. Got on a little tangent there. Plot of this game, once again, you were sent to find your colleague. You find her dead after going through this dig site, all the campsites up at the dig site. Then you find out that the Queen of the Damned has arisen, and she's the one rising all the dead at her command. You find out that she's actually summoned a mummy, which is the first boss, and so you take down the mummy, and you realize that there's actually more for you to be doing around here. There's a bigger mystery here to find out, because you've now got to stop the Queen of the Damned. And that's essentially where this whole story kind of takes you in the lead. I don't want to say too much more because it's just the first level, and I kind of want to give you that kind of pulp mystery adventure for yourselves. I want you guys to experience that. And I didn't comment on how the weapon upgrades work. Now, this game is magical. Everything in this game has magic. But the good thing is that the magic that you use is amazing. You can upgrade certain weapons with runes, and these runes can affect your weapon in many different ways. There's runes that will give your weapon increased headshot damage. There's weapons that will add vampirism to them, which Malangu actually starts with. She starts with one of her perks being vampirism, so if she deals damage, she'll take a little bit of health back every time she kills something. But there's runes for that as well, so my shotgun, my big beefy shotgun that I like using, actually has vampirism and freezing on it. So it can slow enemies down or freeze them entirely. So if I pull that shotgun out, I'm healing myself and I'm freezing enemies, and even one little pellet hitting an enemy can freeze them. So it's just kind of a percentage chance-esque thing with that. There's also ones that add a burning quality to your weapon, so if you shoot an undead, they'll be ignited in flames. There's a bunch of really good ones. There's also one that increases your firing speed and reload speed. So this game really does let you customize your abilities however you like. So if you have a weapon you really like, you can put runes in it to make it better, or give it extra effects, and that's a wonderful addition to the game. I think it's a really cool thing that they added in to give each weapon flavor. And I believe you can exchange them anytime you want, but once you've set a rune inside, if you replace it with another rune, I think it gets destroyed. I haven't tried replacing any yet, because I haven't collected too many. But I'm just going to let you know that that might be how this game works, and to be a little wary of that, right? I don't want you to go into the game thinking, oh, well, this must be how it works, and not. But just be wary, and if you want to maybe use a rune that you don't think you'll ever use, and to see how that swaps out, maybe you could do that for yourself. And another thing that makes this game absolutely wonderful is the narrator. Now, the narrator, the guy who's telling you all these things, you know, commenting on what you're doing, this guy is where all the personality for this game comes in. He's got all the old-timey phrases. He uses alliteration when talking about stuff. And it's just that it's filled with that 1930s campy pulp action. And I know I keep repeating that, but I want you to get it in the theme of your head that this is how this game is. And I'm just going to isolate a few of the funnier clips or funnier things that I think he says. I'm going to insert them right here so you can have a listen.
The Strange Brigade, on their way to devil knows where, at the start of yet another thrilling yarn of death-defying deading doom.
Aha! Take that, young cryptic cat. See, now a dog would have avoided that. Huzzah! Success. Good show.
So he says all the wonderful old-timey things like, good work, Strange Brigade. Show them what for. Or you gave that one a walloping. And just things along those lines. And it's just wonderful because I love that old-timey talk. It's always hilarious, it's always funny, and I think it adds some much-needed personality to this kind of game. Because if it didn't have a narrator and it solely relied on the characters talking, I don't think we'd get a lot of that personality. But the characters also do talk as well. They do say some things, and so you get that personality of the character coming through, as well as the narrator's personality. But the narrator's personality is where the comedy comes through in this. You know, he'll say stuff about your character, so if you're saying specific characters, he'll actually say things pertaining to the character that you're playing. And if you have a certain character that maybe can't solve a certain puzzle or get a certain... Actually, I don't know if there's characters that can solve certain puzzles. But I did see one time there might have been a shortcut through a certain area, and I couldn't get through it as Gracie, because I was playing as Gracie. And the narrator even said, well, it looks like you'll need somebody else. And so he kind of gave you a little jab to the poke that maybe you need a different character, or to play multiplayer in order to solve this riddle. I don't think there might have been anything in there besides gold, because I don't think at any point in this game you need to play a certain specific character in order to get all of the treasures. I think all of the treasures in the game are accessible by every character. That's just what I've learned. There's also certain characters in the game, certain enemy NPCs that are like treasure goblins. If anybody plays Diablo, a few of you are probably cheering right now that I mentioned Diablo, but if you've played Diablo, there's treasure goblins in Diablo that you chase around and beat up so they drop money. Well, there's actually treasure zombies in this game, and if you kill one, it doesn't just drop gold, you actually have to go to its corpse and pick up the item it drops, because they're running away with treasure. I didn't notice the first 3 or 4 times playing through the first level, and I'm sitting here trying to find the puzzle that leads to the final item that I needed to complete it, and it turns out it was just the treasure zombie. That's it. So if you are also playing Strange Brigade and you can't find in the first level Harbin's dig site, the Sickle of Thoth, it is being carried by that one treasure zombie. After you solve the first Scarab Key door and the spearmen start chucking the spears at you from up top, go to your left immediately and find the treasure zombie that's running around, kill it, and then make sure to check the ground where you killed it, and you'll find the Sickle of Thoth. That's just a little helpful bit. Also, another helpful bit, for those people, I think it might be fixed now, because the pre-order bonus DLC is also fixed, but the first night they were having some issues, so I'll throw in this in here. If you're having trouble activating Winston Bay as a DLC character, because you'll hit download and it launches the game instead of downloading Winston Bay for you, go to the main menu of Steam in your library, make sure it's on list view, not the big icons view, it has to be in the tiny list view. Then go over to the right-hand side, or wherever this list may be, and find out where it will say DLC, and click it. I think you can also right-click it on the big icons and click View DLC as well. That shortcut should also work. But once you go to that DLC page, you'll see the 3 DLCs, the Season Pass, the Weapon Pack, and the free Winston Gentleman DLC. Click on the DLC from there, and that will add it to your game, and you'll now be able to use them. I don't know if this bug is still around. They've done a lot of fixes over the last evening, to make sure people can get their weapons and their character. So I'm just throwing this in there as a precaution, because it was relevant to a lot of people who are having issues getting Winston on their team. But as far as gameplay goes for Strange Brigade, everything is absolutely tight. I have not once felt like this game has ever done me wrong in the 4 or 5 hours I've played it over the last few days. So the gunplay is nice. It takes a little used to getting to the old-timey weapons, because they're not like newer weapons where you can just hold down fire and repeatedly shoot 30 bullets in the exact same 2-centimeter circle. Like, you actually have to wait for recoil sometimes. But in the beginning episodes of this game, that's not a problem, because the zombies are slow, they're walking towards you. It kind of eases you into the gunplay and learning how to do it. There's also special weapons you can find as well, which I thought were cool, that kind of work like if you guys remember the Call of Duty zombie modes, where you'd have the treasure chest box and you need to pay the box to get an item. Well, this game also has specific cases lying around that cost, I believe, 500 and 1,000 gold in order to open. And if you open these, you'll get strangely powerful weapons, imbued with inherent magic. Some of these can be like grenade launchers, fully automatic weapons that have like weird magical bolts tied to them, so when you hit something, they ignite in like a blue ethereal flame. A blunderbuss that pretty much kills anything in one hit. but all of these special weapons only have a certain amount of ammo, and you can't refill them at ammo stations. So the gunplay is really tight. There's a varied amount of guns to start out with. The more you play, the more guns you can get by unlocking them. So if you find a certain specific gun that's locked behind the, not the paywall, but like the in-game paywall, like you need to earn a certain amount of gold in-game, which I think it only takes 3 or 4 runs, like complete runs, to get a larger cost upgrade, because they're usually only around 30,000 gold, and I think in my first playthrough I got like 19,000 gold or something on my first one run through, but I checked every nook and cranny for all that money. So the weapons are not far out of reach. A couple hours and you can get the weapon that you desire unlocked. So there's a lot of great things going on with this game. Very few bugs. I haven't run into any bugs. The puzzles are great. You have to keep your eye open. It challenges your wits. It challenges, you know, your timing, because there are some puzzles where you have to run from area to area, step on a switch, and hit a specific beacon with a bullet. And you're going to have to get used to thinking outside of the box, because some of these puzzles you won't necessarily understand. And I'm not going to say where it is, but there was a pond. And in this pond, there were golden fish. And I was like, golden fish? And so I was like, well, you can shoot chickens and such, so I wonder about fish. I shot the fish, and it spewed out a bunch of coins. And I also heard a ba-ding, and I'm like, oh. So I shot another fish, and I heard a ba-ding again, and it spewed out more coins. And then I looked around, and I saw there was a statue that had glowing scarabs on it, but only 2 of them were lit up. So the puzzle for unlocking that massive coffer of gold from laying in the bottom of that pond was killing all the golden fish in the pond. So you could easily overlook that if you're not paying attention. You might think, oh, that's just another statue with scarab icons on it. But had you looked in the pond and shot the fish inside the pond, you would have realized there's now a hidden treasure chest you never even knew about. So this game rewards exploration and experimentation, which is wonderful. That's exactly what you need in this kind of game. You're adventurers, you're explorers, you're working with the occult. I want to see adventurers exploring and using magic to solve puzzles and get mad treasure. Right? Sometimes things belong in a museum, or sometimes they belong in your bank account, right? It all depends, and that's kind of where the wonder of this game comes through. Even solo play. I've played the majority solo play, and I've only played 1 match of multiplayer so far, because I couldn't get a reliable connection with the few people who were doing the first level, because I didn't want to do any spoiler footage. But in the solo play, it's absolutely wonderful. Everything's tight. You've even got a dodge roll to dodge out of the way of incoming attacks, so you're not just like, oh no, I didn't kill them before they got me, I guess I'm pooched. No, that's not it. You also have every character has a melee attack as well, and if you melee a zombie and it knocks it on its butt, you can then go up to it to do a finishing stomp on its head to instantly kill it. So you don't always even need to use your weapons. You can also use your fists or your feet or your amulets, whatever your character attacks with. And each character has like a special attack animation. Like I said earlier, Gracie Braithwaite uppercuts a dude so hard. That's just her basic attack. She just uppercuts people because she wears overalls and is all greasy and she loves throwing explosives. She's my favorite character, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a little bit about the multiplayer right now. The multiplayer is like solo play, except it's better. That's it. It's just better because now you're adventuring with other people who can help you solve puzzles, who can help you defeat the hordes of enemies. More enemies spawn, more difficult enemies spawn. So they up the challenge rating of each mission. You can even work in tandem to solve puzzles in a timely manner. So if you see a timed puzzle where it requires a lot of running around as solo play, you can have each of your characters stand in the order they need to stand in and then shoot the icons or the beacons or the whatever you need to shoot in time. And then there you go, the puzzle's solved within a few seconds. So it rewards, some of the puzzles are rewarded in a way that it makes it easier if you're playing with friends, or even strangers online. And you know what? It's called the Strange Brigade, so go, please, play with some strangers online. This game is better online. I do find that right now, I couldn't get a connection readout on any of the lobbies when I was going for the multiplayer area, so I'm not sure exactly if that's a bug right now, or if it was just me trying to connect to the multiplayer at the time, but I found it a little worrisome that I couldn't see the connection strength to the host when connecting to a game. Because when I got into this first one, you might even be seeing it on screen now, because I probably chopped in some multiplayer footage here at the end. I'm shooting, but I don't feel like I'm aiming and shooting where I'm shooting. It feels a little laggy. Things seem to be happening after bullets hit, etc. So there definitely runs that risk of make sure you can find someone with reliable connections first before going in and maybe playing with strangers, or at least check to see if the connection readout is available on the screen. Like I said, it could have just been me. A lot of time in these games, sometimes it's just you as the player. You might need to reboot the game, whatnot, but I figured I would just give a heads up that that might be an issue right now. It might not be an issue, but I would rather speak my mind and tell you about my experiences and potential faults of the game than dismiss it as, oh, well, it was probably just a tiny glitch on my end. Because you never know. And I think that's pretty much all I have to say about Strange Brigade. There really isn't much left to talk about. The gunplay is great, the character movement is great, the character personalities are great, the theming is wonderful. Now granted, if you don't like the theme of this game, you're probably not going to like this game, but I absolutely adore the theme of this game, and I want more people to play this because I want the community to be huge. I want people to play this game. I've been seeing a lot of contention with the price tag of this game, because I believe this game right now is $55 US, which I believe is $49.99. Now, if you pre-purchased it, you would have gotten a special DLC weapon pack and 10% off the price to make it $44.99 or $50 Canadian. So $44.99 US, $50 Canadian, or your regional equivalent. I guess because I love the theme of this game, it doesn't deter me from spending the money or recommending it to people as a good game, because it does have everything that I like, and it does have something fresh. It does use zombies, and I get that, but there are extra enemies that will pop up along the way that aren't necessarily zombies, or don't feel like zombies. And I know zombies are pretty outplayed right now, but I feel like the 1930s pulp film, or pulp comic kind of action-adventure style is something that we need now. It definitely is adding a new, fresh take to a genre that desperately needed one. Because, I mean, yeah, you can get your military shooters at Call of Duty doing its zombies mode. You can get, I believe, Sniper Elite, which also has, like, a zombie mode, maybe even in it. And, you know, all those just military zombie shooters. I needed some magic in there, right? I needed something fun. I needed to have cool things where I can pull people in and punch them so hard they explode. You know, or summon a swarm of scarabs because we're in Egypt, or summon an ethereal ball that will launch fire bolts at my enemies to help me destroy them. And so there's just all that kind of theming, that wonderful theming that I desperately wanted into a game genre like this. Because I don't know about y'all, but I'm kind of sick of just, oh look, Nazi zombie shooter, new zombie mode. It's like, I get that. Even the Call of Duty zombies went and tried to change up the zombie modes by adding in new special gimmicks and different special things. You know, celebrities and whatnot. To kind of breathe into it new life. But even those were still boring for me, and I think the strongest draw to this game is its theming. So if you're interested in Strange Brigade, go ahead, go to your PS4 store, your Xbox One store, your Steam store, pick it up now, enjoy the game. It's a wonderful little time, especially if you've got friends, 100% if you've got friends that want to get in on this. It's going to be an absolutely amazing time. And that'll be all for this Wednesday on the What's This series, and I will see you all on another Random Wednesday with another random game. Take care, everybody.